All right. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you here with us tonight. We have an important meeting for KICLEI. It is fall in Canada, and that means we're going into municipal budget season. And this is where things really get active across our country. Um, I wanted to start tonight with sharing a bit of an analogy, and it has to do with rugby. So, I don't know if anyone's been following the Canadian women. They are a semi pro team, they are not full time rugby players, they all have full time jobs and they do rugby on the side. But this year, the Canadian rugby team was able to make it to the World Championships and play in the Gold Cup game. And they did come second, but it was quite remarkable to see a semi pro team um, in the World Championships. So go Canada. Um, I was learning a little bit about rugby because I live nearby a rugby field and league and went there with my family to watch the game and found out that local the that we here locally in the Peterborough Kawartha area have a player in this team, and her name is Olivia Apps, and she has a really interesting position in rugby. So I'm not sure if everyone knows how rugby works. I'm just learning myself. But she is in the position of what is called the half scrum. So her job is to keep an eye on everything going on in the field. Who's behind her, who's in front of her, and and communicate with everyone, keep an eye on everything, and pass the ball to who it needs to go to. And we know the KICLEI logo shows um, a picture of the child playing in the streets, and we are kicking the International Council out of local environmental initiatives, kicking ICLEI out, this UN NGO that's partnered with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So that is what we're doing all across the country. We are passing this ball from province to province, municipality to municipality. We are learning from the different plays that everyone is taking. We have a lot of people here tonight that are taking local action or have in the past, and we're all part of this team. So just encouraging that as we go through tonight's meeting, you'll take the tools, take the strategy, take the updates, and together we can move this ball forward and play with the big boys and girls on the world stage, because this is truly a battle of localism over globalism. So with that, I want to just highlight some people that are working in areas that we're going to be highlighting tonight. So Ron Voss from Cochrane, Alberta, if you just want to put your hand up there, we can highlight you. Let me see if I can change the view. Ron Voss. We got so many people in here, I
Maybe
can't
maybe you
find
make
you.
him see if you can make him as a panelist in your participants list. Maybe you can
Okay.
make him as a panelist, and that'll allow the panelist group to just be highlighted in particular.
Oh, that's a
Or
great idea.
once you find him,
Ah,
you can
there he
pin him.
is. Oh, I can pin. Okay, I'm going to pin Ron Voss. Welcome. Now I need to get back into we have Helen Scott from Tumbler Ridge, the Peace River Regional District. I'm going to pin you. Is that working? We have Peter Hyman from Cambridge, Ontario. Let's give you a pin. We have Peter and Sharon McFadden overseeing Waterloo Region. We have, let me see here. I'm just spotlighting people that are in our agenda tonight that we're going to be highlighting. We have Marie Russell from Oxford County. Hi, Marie. Great to see you here. Great work. We have Duncan Spence. I'm not going to pin you, but welcome. I will be calling on, I see a few of you from Thorold here, and I'm glad you're here tonight because we will be talking about some things in Thorold, Ontario. Um, who am I missing that's on the agenda tonight? Do we have Charles Hooker here? Shawnee McKay? Jacqueline Robinson? I think we have Jacqueline. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to get started there. If others come in, I know I wanted to discuss a little bit about Simcoe County and Dufferin County. So if we have reps from there as well as Thorold who would like to be a speaker when the time comes, that would be great. All right, welcome everyone. We're going to start with an update from Alberta, then British Columbia, Ontario. We're going to discuss some media pushback and some new tools available for everyone. So, with that, we'll start with Cochrane. And Ron Voss, you're here from Cochrane. Welcome. And for those who have been following, you know that Cochrane, let me just share this. Share with audio. That we have been working in Cochrane. Ron Voss did a delegation there earlier in the year and presented the fact that Cochrane had been signed up for the Partners for Climate Protection program for, I think, since 2004. The big story there was that nobody on the council knew that they were members of this program, or at least they didn't speak up and say that they knew. Most of them who did speak said that they were unaware they were part of this program. They passed it off to their environmental committee, who passed it back to the council. And when the time came to vote, because we had put a spotlight on council and as a great example of the fact that our counselors don't even know that they're in this program, um, it unfortunately it unfortunately made it so that the ICLEI network and their media affiliates like the National Observer did a couple hit pieces on Cochrane and the counselors who were putting the motion forward. And they unfortunately voted to stay in the PCP program in the end. But from that, we can learn a lot. And I'm going to let Ron speak to that, give you a couple minutes there, Ron. And I'm happy to share kind of what the mayor said and Councillor Wilson said going into the final vote. But I will share this whole video in the chat right now, and I encourage people to watch the whole thing afterwards. So, Ron, with that, would you like to say anything regarding Cochrane and what we learned? You're muted.
Yeah, I've been sort of bringing this up with council probably way back to 2021 when council joined the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board, which put us more under the influence of Calgary, which is they declared a climate emergency. So I've been talking to him a fair amount about these kind of things. I found out when I was looking at the PCP website, they showed Cochrane as a member, but it wasn't on the map itself. So I went back to them and to the town, and they finally figured out, oh, we found that in 2004 we were a member. And then when I contacted somebody from the PCP secretariat, he told me that they had accomplished stage 3, which was actually the plan. So this is not a trivial state of accomplishment. You're not just starting out. And so the argument pushback in a way was, well, we're not very actively involved at this time, quote. Okay. So here's this plan set to go, and they think, well, that's no big deal. It could be brought in anytime at all. Part of my doing this, I knew about it in probably 24, and part of my doing it now is because the election is coming up this October 20th. And as much as anything, I wanted to expose them in terms of where they stand on this issue. Some people may not consider it an important issue, but for me it is. I don't want my town dominated or planning all developed according to climate change. And so when they had that vote on the what was it, September the 8th, five of the councilors, including the mayor, agreed to keep the town on there. I should back up. The motion came from the administration to keep Cochrane as a member. I mean, very much as anything, the administration was pushing to stay. And part of my issue with my town council, as many people know, often the town is run by the administration and not by the elected people. And I'm looking for a town council that will, represent the town and not be pushed around by it. So five of the two uh, wanted to stay. Two of them, the initiator of the motion, Patrick Wilson, and another gentleman, Alex Reed, agreed to stay. And what I did subsequently in September, all of the people running as candidates, I sent them an email and asked them again, what would you do? Would you maintain Cochrane as a member? And I think I have about 6 who say they would not. And I've created a table and I've published it on a Facebook I have. I don't know how broadly it's going to reach people, but to me, that's an issue for this campaign. And it distinguishes the candidates. I mean, they all tell you how great they're going to be, blah, blah, blah. But this distinguishes them, including one of them who's a mayor who said he would not go along with this. So I'm hoping that it'll be an electoral issue. And just
Yes.
I was just Maggie, I also did a FOIA request, and I was just going through it today from the period December 2024 to June 2025, because I wanted to get a sense of what kind of conversation, if any, was going on. And I just started, but it started out on June 18th, where somebody anonymous sent an email to the mayor, and he included with it this article by Rory White from the
Yeah.
National Observer. And I don't know who that person was, but I didn't know that that was happening in the town. And I just joined the Observer for 2 weeks free, but they have another article. What is it here? It says Alberta bucks misinformation and stands by climate program. And then there was an earlier one where it said um, misinformation laden website. I know who that's referring to. Almost convinces town to abandon climate program. So it was interesting. This organization, which gets tons of money from people, including our
Yeah.
federal government, is
Yeah.
there saying that you're too influential.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Okay.
And absolutely, this lesson learned in Cochrane was that we need to be careful of shining a light too early on the work that we're doing because unfortunately, ICLEI is a network of members and experts working together through peer exchange and partnership to create systematic change. That is their mission. So they are working with the National Observer, and, thankfully, it is such a biased organization. All a counselor has to do is look at the About Us page, and they will see that they have an agenda. And so we will talk a little bit more about that tonight. I've done a rebuttal to that, but I think the lesson learned is let's keep things under the radar a bit, right? And it's not about, as much as we need to get the message out, we can do that under the currents and through our network. And we have more and more counselors ready to step up now. So it's just a matter of connecting with them and getting these motions on the table, because we would have won in Cochrane had that not happened. They had no reason to stay in the program. They had no idea what it was, and they would have withdrawn had that not happened. So lesson learned. The other thing we can learn from Cochrane is that, and other municipalities, is that staff is telling the councils that the Partners for Climate Protection program is somewhat of a requirement in order to access funding from the Green Municipal Fund. So, a couple of things on that. The Partners for Climate Protection program is voluntary, correct? So, if it is a requirement in order to access federal funding, then is it really voluntary? Because municipalities need federal funding for their infrastructure and other projects. So we need to call this out. And today I sent a open letter to the FCM. I want to thank Helen Scott, who's pinned here tonight from Tumbler Ridge. She sent me an article that recently came out from the FCM on the Green Municipal Fund. And on the basis of that letter, I put together an open letter to the FCM, sent it out through the KICLEI Substack, and sent it obviously directly one-on-one to the FCM. So I'm going to pull that letter up, and you can also find the link in the chat notes and just have a good read through that and send it to your counselors. That would be a great one to read. So I'll just pull that up here for you all to see. Let me blow this up. And when people watch the recording later, they're welcome to pause and kind of read this through. So essentially in their article, they are talking about how they have over $300 million in approved funding and over $2.4 billion managed of our federal funds that is going through the FCM programs. And so the first question I asked is participation in the PCP program a requirement for municipalities to access the Green Municipal Funds? If so, we request a full breakdown of which programs PCP participation is mandatory for, which ones are restricted, and are municipalities without PCP commitments excluded from funding? And what we're going to find out here is likely no. Municipalities do not need to participate in this program in order to access the Green Municipal Funds. They likely won't want to access a whole bunch of those funds because they're based on federal priorities and international priorities. But the answer is no. So the fact that the staff is telling our councils that they need to be in this program to access those funds, we need to get an answer on this so we can clear that up once and for all. Really, some great questions here. What is their role now? Are they responding to municipal demands, or are they implementing federal directives at the local level? They boast about having reduced CO2 by almost 3 million tons since 2000, the year 2000. And when we do the math on that figure, that is only 0.5% of Canada's annual emissions. So they're spending a lot of money to essentially do nothing for the environment and basically to do the work that 0.1% of our trees do in 1 year.
So Maggie, is that going back up to those percentages there? So 0.517 of Canada's annual emissions. So is that total in the last 25 years? So 3 million,
Yeah.
3 million
Yeah.
tons is what we've reduced since 2025, for over 25 years.
Mhm.
So we haven't
Since
reduced,
20.
yeah, we haven't reduced emissions by 0.5% every year. We've
Nope.
reduced emissions 0.5% over 25 years.
Yeah. So we're not getting a very good return on investment,
Amen.
right?
Okay, thank you.
Also, we're asking them about their international affiliations. They claim to be the national voice of municipalities, but it looks like they are an implementation partner for the federal government and United Nations. And we just want to, figure out what their relationship is with ICLEI and ICLEI's relationship with the UN. We're going to ask them some questions about constitutional jurisdiction and, the fact that they're bypassing the provinces to push their agenda, and that the Green Municipal Fund is somewhat coercive if they're only allowed to access federal funding when they adopt federal and UN frameworks. And then finally, we ask, is there alternative funding options? So it's one thing if they're setting up this fund, the Green Municipal Fund, but is there another option for municipalities to receive federal funding that is not tied to climate action frameworks and the UN Sustainable Development Goal adoption, right? If so, can the FCM provide a clear list so councils may weigh their options independently? So fine, if they want to have the Green Municipal Fund, that's okay, but please let our councils know where else they can get funding that isn't tied to the adoption of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So that was sent today, and we'll see what happens. So far, they haven't liked answering too many questions.
Do you think they will answer you?
Well, we'll see. I think that we have more and more counselors coming on board now, and they might not answer me, but they're going to have to answer the counselors. So
There might be significant, how would you say, call it pressure to have members here prepare delegations to quote or reference this letter to their respective councils. And Maggie, I'm going to ask you to come up with, figure out what that math is. So dividing 0.517 of the reduction in emissions over the last 25 years, yes, that represents 0.517 of an annual emissions, but over 25 years, that represents 0.02% of our annual emissions in any given year. So
yes, and we don't know how much money they've been given over the last 25 years to come up with that insignificant reduction. So back to Alberta, you guys are in a municipal election. There's going to be municipal elections coming up all across the country. We've just revamped our website a little bit, and I just wanted to show you some tools. I am getting quite a lot of questions about what can we use for talking points. And questions and platforms.
So Maggie, do we have your permission to use that letter
Oh, sure.
yes,
to create our delegation presentations to our councils?
100%. That would be a great one to use.
Okay.
So, as I said at our last meeting, I wanted to work on the website and do a frequently asked questions section. And so that has been accomplished. There is quite a few more questions, obviously, we can add and as we go here. But this is a great place if you are learning about KICLEI, learning our talking points, learning about who FCM and ICLEI and the PCP programs are and how they're influencing our councils, knowing how to speak about the climate science and why it is that we need to address this, because unfortunately, they are relying on certain unsubstantiated talking points with regards to various aspects of climate science. And we need to be able to speak to that too. You don't have to know everything uh, regarding the climate science, but this is kind of a great little primer. So as you go through, these are accordion drop downs, and the main talking points are here. Um, I would say probably one of the biggest one is, regarding Canada's carbon sinks and emissions context, as well as why we address this in the local context and our alternatives. Because councils want to know, if we don't do this, what should we do? Right? So, um, along with that, we have a great section on property rights and how the UN's land policy fits into this, and the kinds of issues that we're seeing with regards to our property rights, as well as the 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 crises of housing, mental health, and drug addiction, and how maybe these top-down climate programs that are impacting our property rights is having a direct effect on these issues that we find in our communities across the country. So I really think it's important to read through this, especially, well, everything that I've just pointed out, but this is a really big one. Um, and I know it's at the end here, but I really encourage people to have a read and let it sink in that this isn't just about
Yeah.
pushing back on international lobbyists that want to take our money away and have it diverted to carbon credits and corporations. It's about the people all around us that are suffering and addressing the potential cause of that, which I believe is directly linked to the development scheme that Canada has adopted since the 1990s.
Mm.
All right. So the frequently asked question section is there for you. Uh, the resources and tools, I've put kind of the main FAQs here going into it. But for instance, how did I come up with that number um, regarding the impact of the CO2 reductions that the Green Municipal Fund claims to have done? So we have a whole bunch of little calculators and report generators now available on the website. The CO2 context calculator has been out for a while. Here, you can put in the amount of CO2 they claim to reduce. So let's say, I think it was about, what was it for, what did they say it was? Oh,
Right there. 2.98 million tons.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we put that number in and it will automatically generate it down here. Canada's share, global human share, and atmospheric share, and the equivalent of offsetting so many trees. So in this case, it equals 0.01% of Canada's trees. And this also tells you how we're getting those numbers. So this is based on the fact that CO2 makes up only 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere, and of that, human activity contributes roughly 4%, and Canada accounts for just 1.6% of that human share. And based off those numbers is how we are getting these calculations. So in this case, they said that they have $28 billion, correct? 2.8 billion. So what is that? How many zeros? Anyways, they didn't even give the right
Five zeros.
numbers.
5 zeros.
Yeah, it won't work because we don't have the right numbers for that exactly. But anyway, okay, so that's one of the tools, and just encourage people when you are looking at your climate action plans or discussions regarding, say, a municipal fleet, and replacing your municipal fleet will reduce CO2 by 400 tons per year. And they're saying that in order to do that, they need to spend $13 million. How much is that per ton? Quite a lot. $3,250 per ton of
You only have
CO2.
1.3 million there, by the way. I don't think you have 13 million. You need 6 zeros.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So this is an extreme amount of money per ton to be spending. And this is what they had in their Oxford County Green Fleet report. They said if we want to reduce the emissions from our fleet vehicles, it's going to cost $13 million to replace this fleet. So that's essentially $32,000 per ton. And this is how much, it equates to. So our counselors aren't getting that information in front of them, and they need it in order to make better decisions. Again, our next report, this one is regarding how much CO2 our region is already absorbing per year. So if you've been following the work, you know that the net zero programs do not take into account the absorption of any of our pre-existing carbon sinks. So if you're in Renfrew County and 60% of your region is Crown Land Forest, and they're looking at a climate action plan, nowhere in there, alongside their minuscule emissions, is there any information regarding what their region is already absorbing, and we can now generate those reports. So we have an example in here, and you can just go through and change all of these. This is going to generate a report for you and your council. We're going to look at Woodstock because I was able to pull their information. What you need here to do this report is the hectares, your uh, your region's total area by hectares. And then you want to find as much information as you can. I realize you're not the GIS department, but we'll get there. Of all these carbon sinks, and then there's additional carbon sinks here. And we're going to generate that report based on the information inputted here. And it is going to let you know how much CO2 your region is uptaking. And it's going to give a recommendation to your council that they direct their staff to prepare and publish an annual absorption report and it gives them the rates, and it also pumps out a little graph here that you can throw into your report and your presentation. So, are we getting somewhere, folks? This is another one. You can go to the Canada's carbon stock map. It's an interactive map, and you can it's going to be a little bit harder for some of us, but the idea is that we want councils to start directing their staff and their GIS department to determine how much how much carbon is currently being stored in their region. So the last one we looked at how much is being absorbed annually, and this is how much is being stored. We're doing all of this because over and over again in their I'm just going to come back. We have another alternative here. You can look at that after. But the reason why we're doing this is because we need to refute the idea that these climate action plans are necessary and make sense in Canada, and that these numbers are significant that they're trying to reduce, and that they should spend all of this money. So I think if we show them that they're not emitting a lot, that the amount that they're emitting is insignificant, that they're absorbing more than they admit, that they store and are stewards of land that is a carbon sink in the world, and that they should get credit for that if CO2 is an issue. And then we have an alternative report, which we can get to at another time because I'd like to move on. So lastly, and all of that to say, we can use those tools in Alberta going into the election. You know, and I would start if I was in Alberta looking at these frequently asked questions, and this is basically the alternative, right? We don't need to do data collection overkill. Just figure out what our population is, and we know how much our community emits, right? And from there, we can work with the GIS department and determine the fact that these climate action plans are expensive and not solving any problems regarding CO2 if it is a problem, and it's not, as we know. And then some other suggestions. So great talking points there. And I'm sorry for taking so long on that, but Alberta elections are really important. And the last one that I would recommend looking at if I was in Alberta is our localism over globalism declaration. And this is a platform. And this is a platform for candidates across the country that are running in municipal elections. And that's what I would download, and everyone's welcome to use it and adapt it to your region. Okay, we're going to move on to British Columbia. Lastly, if you're a candidate, there is a KICLEI support request form. You can fill this out, and I'll put together a mini report on your area, your municipality, your region's involvement in net zero programs. And that way you have some solid facts to go into the campaign with. Okay, BC. I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute, and we're going to highlight Helen Scott from Tumbler Ridge. And just going to check to see. pretty sure we don't have the counselor from the regional district here. Oh, Benita, I'm glad you're here. I hope you caught all that for Alberta.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay,
Very helpful.
okay, great. Okay, British Columbia, Helen Scott. So I'm going to start by saying over in Prince George, which is northern BC, right neighbors with Peace River Regional District, where Helen Scott is. They reached out to me, and that kind of got me looking into their unique situation in British Columbia, where the municipalities have adopted the BC Climate Action Charter. And it appeared that we couldn't address this at the municipal level because the province was mandating it. But then when we looked at the BC Climate Action Charter, we found that it was actually just a voluntary commitment that municipalities signed on to. So it's just like the Partners for Climate Protection program. And from that, we made a report for British Columbia for their municipalities to exit net zero programs. And then Helen Scott reached out to me, and great lady up in the north, and we looked at their area and doing some delegations on some local issues. But as soon as we looked into it, we saw that their region had just passed a climate action plan. So we did a delegation on the climate action plan. And from that, a counselor in the regional district of Central Kootenay put forward a motion to to pause their participation in the BC Climate Action Charter and the Partners for Climate Protection Program and do a full cost analysis. That happened on September 18th. And they discussed it for 50 minutes. I really encourage anyone who is here tonight. If you're here tonight, it means that you're interested, and that would be 50 minutes that you would thoroughly enjoy listening to. Great discussion, very respectful, and the staff was very helpful. And in the end, they passed a motion not to pause their participation, but to get a report back from staff. And I think tonight it would be useful for us just to watch the counselor introduce the motion, and then we'll skip to the end and hear the motion get passed as something. And we're going to do the same with some other regions tonight. So I'm going to share that, and Helen, we'll get you to chime in here right after, okay? So thank you. You're going to find a link to our BC action plan to exit these programs. You're going to find a link to our work in Tumbler Ridge, as well as me and Helen's delegation to Tumbler Ridge is there as well. And this beautiful success story of our work, or really the counselors' work in the regional district of Central Kootenay. And we've done a full case study, and we're going to put that up there.
On 8.1, Director Vandenberg, this is your motion. So I will hand it over to you. And I'm wondering if we
Can everyone hear?
Yeah, that volume was good.
Okay, thank you.
should, if we get a motion on the floor, then we have to either finish it by 11:45. So we'll leave it to you, but if we start getting into too much discussion where we're going to hit that point, we'll have to take.
So would you like me to do an opening then?
You do you, if that's what you'd like to do, yeah.
All right. Thank you. The motion, there it is. the motion directs RDCK board to pause compliance with the Partners of Climate Protection BCP program, the BC Climate Action Charter, and to commission a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis before any further commitments are made. Goal is straightforward: to ensure that every tax dollar is spent wisely and that every environmental action is tailored to distinct needs and values of our region. Participation in voluntary climate frameworks has expanded our financial, staffing, and administrative obligations, exerting pressure on local budgets, property taxes, often without transparent demonstration of tangible local benefits. Net zero mandates embedded in internal CAP plans entail significant costs for our infrastructure upgrades, ongoing reporting. These costs, risks outpace the returns of our communities, especially as provincial and federal funding shifts greater responsibility and often matching dollar requirements onto the municipalities. Residents have voiced concerns about affordability, resource drain, and the need for independent evaluation before further investments in these programs. Yet, the RDCK has not wavered in its commitments to meaningful environmental stewardship. As reflected in our last two board agendas, RDCK leading a robust suite of initiatives that directly advance community resilience and sustainability, including land use planning, risk tolerance policy, flood hazard policy and regulations review, water sustainability initiatives, wildfire mitigation, compliance with emergency and disaster management, enhancing our grassroots readiness through our NEPP, our Neighborhood Emergency Preparedness Program, our geographic information systems, including mapping, including LiDAR, and ongoing review of RDCK's better corporate building policy, ensuring maximum life cycle value and fiscal performance takes priority. Other notable efforts such as recycling improvements, hazardous waste events, and invasive species management, and broadwater source protection continue to shape resilient, sustainable future for RDCK residents. Some may say that the climate action plans from the PCP program may inform or identify the current suite of initiatives I just noted. I would caution that this is not the case, as local governments are responding to provincial direction and mandates and constituent resident concerns in our backyards. Supporting this motion means overriding outside expectations that may not fit in our geography, demographics, or lived experience of our community. It restores the autonomy of our board to assess and clarify the true costs, local outcomes of climate-related commitments, ensuring that only those actions with robust evidence-backed returns are advanced. It also positions us to transparently communicate these findings with the public engagement and accountability, building trust, reducing risk, and upholding the highest
Did that pause for?
standards of local democracy. This responsibility pause protects affordability and guarantees representative governance, allowing us to address the real risks: floods, droughts, wildfire, infrastructure development, before adopting costly and potential misaligned mandates. I would submit that RDCK is a leader in thoughtful climate stewardship, community-driven decision-making, honest fiscal management. Please support this motion as it provides clear local value and unwavering transparency.
That's your intro.
It is.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and come back. His wording was fantastic. He highlighted the fact that they have about 25 different environmental initiatives that they're already participating in. If you watch that discussion, it's apparent that this regional board has been inundated with climate action plan related reports for the last term, and that they're sick of it, to be honest, and that they've spent a lot of time on this and they just want to get some work done for their regional priorities. I love what he said, about our job is to respond to the provincial mandates and our residents' concerns. and that passing this motion will help them to kind of fend off outside influences that are trying to get on their agenda and you know have their say. So um, I won't go to the end, although because I know most of you will go back and watch the whole presentation there and debate. I will say that the staff were helpful, and I wanted to point that out. Um, we are not against staff. There are some great staff, and we will not accomplish this work without the staff coming alongside us and seeing the common sense that we're trying to bring to the table. And we're trying to relieve them of administrative burdens that are outside the scope of municipal responsibilities. So the staff were helpful in this case, and just said, it's really no problem. They're happy to come back with a report on how much this has cost over the last many, many years of adoption. So, again, proving in a province like BC, where we thought we had no chance of going after net zero programs, that we can. And for the staff there to say, no worries, we can do this, we'll look into it. It really shows that some of the staff maybe in Ontario, like Dufferin County, we're going back and forth there a little bit. And, the staff out in BC are responding better than the ones in Ontario, where there is no provincial mandate here to do this work. So, Helen, I wanted to spotlight you tonight. And our delegation was at the was in the summer, correct?
Correct.
And correct.
We presented August 5th.
We presented August 5th, and I would say that's probably one of the first delegations, true KICLEI delegations in BC, but I could be wrong. And what I loved about your counselor's response, there were two things that were mentioned that I think are relevant for everyone tonight and inspiring. After we presented, one of the counselors said that it was the most interesting delegation he had ever heard in his time on council. And secondly, that they had never heard this side presented. So, for all the people out there that say there's nothing we can do, look at the fact that nobody had ever presented to this council, and likely the majority of councils across Canada, our side of this discussion. So we have a lot of ground we can cover. And your thoughts on that, Helen? Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Helen Scott. I'm a business owner in Tumbler Ridge, BC, a local resident to the north. I grew up in Dawson Creek. And there was some stuff we were going to take to the PRRD, and we decided to focus locally first. And then when we were investigating the delegation, we found that we were going to request a reconsideration to the PRRD Regional Climate Resiliency Plan. We found that it had been endorsed, the final plan, on July 17th. But as of July 24th, the PRRD's own engagement website still had final plan under review, and there had been no public consultation. So it had been pushed through and to be revisited in 2030. So we did the delegation at the municipal level with plans to go to the PRRD. And since it looks like a lot of stuff has unfolded in BC, the mayor and council, and there were 31 people from Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, Pouce Coupe that came out to Tumbler Ridge to be in the gallery. So our mayor and council hadn't seen, that many people there sitting in the chairs. It was kind of funny because our eyes kind of were kept widening as more chairs were put in place. So we presented that in this area, we have carbon sinks and we're already in line with net zero and the Agenda 2030. So since that happened and we were planning on putting information and a letter to the PRD, in Tumbler Ridge, our ER about 2 weeks ago closed. So now the town is kind of panicking. We don't have ER service in the evenings after 7, nor on weekends. So people have to make the hour and a 15-minute drive to Dawson Creek or Chetland, and they're in divergence. So people are starting to wake up to sustainable communities, sustainable development, some of these keywords that have been being used by our FCM. Our mayor and council just got back from UBCM where they were going to be talking about health and what it means to live in rural, northern, remote communities such as this. So it's going to be interesting to put a delegation or a letter, an information letter with these new tools that you have put on the updated website, and just get a strategic plan to have mayor councils engaging with our admin and staff to solve problems locally, because we have much more imminent problems in the local communities. And that's about it. I've summed up. Yeah, I think our next things to do will be taking to our Peace River Regional District and coming up with things we can do and action plans for concerned citizens, as well as helping mayor and councils ask the right questions or put motions through to our staff.
And again, getting back to the local issues, you guys have a serious problem there.
Mm-hmm.
And here, and it looks like in your area, Northern Health is making some very interesting moves. So we need to kind of get past this climate action plan stuff up there. Right. We're going to send a package to your regional district and focus back in on some of those local issues. I think it's important that people who are doing this work kind of bounce around, local key issue that people are interested in, that is important to get behind, and then back to focusing on localism over globalism. We need to get out of these programs so that we can address our local priorities. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make sure that everyone has access to the full case study for where is it? There it is. Oh, I'm not sharing. This is such an important case study put together after September 18th, after the discussion and debate and motion there. And this PDF can be sent to our counselors all across the country. A really great example of the work that was done in that 50-minute debate. And it gives, the background, why this motion came about, about the BC Climate Action Charter and the PCP program, and how there are concerns with affordability and data and jurisdictional overreach and conditional funding. And it provides information about the motion and the discussion that came about. And then it goes into kind of the strategy that was used there and what was effective and why it worked so well. And then recommendations. This is probably the key part for counselors. And so a counselor could essentially take this and review the 50-minute debate, the original motion, the withdrawal package for BC and the cost assessment tool guide that we've put together, and from that, duplicate that motion. So I'm going to make sure you all have that. And I'm going to put it in the chat and just do download that from the chat. Because of what we learned in Cochrane, we're not sending that out to everyone right away. We want that to go to our counselors and our network first. And if that doesn't work, I can fix it after. So great job, people in British Columbia. Encouraging everyone there to get your local networks to do the Join Us form so we can better organize in BC now that we're finally getting some traction. We're going to jump over to Ontario. Kind of the original KICLEI crew here has been very busy, and we have representatives from Oxford County here tonight. Marie Russell is pinned, and I know that others from Oxford County and Norwich are here tonight. And Marie, are you the best person to introduce what happened on the 23rd of September, a couple days ago in Oxford County?
I may be, Maggie. I hope so. If not, I've got great support here tonight. I know Roxalana, Jacqueline, and Mark are there. On the 23rd, we had a council meeting where one of our councillors put forward a motion. We are a two-tier municipality. We are one of 8 of the lower tier. And our councillor, after Jacqueline Robinson did a delegation in the summer about PCP and asking for the costs, we had a councillor, a very courageous councillor and one that we know and like a lot, put forward a motion asking Oxford for a cost analysis, asking for everything since we signed up in 2017. And it was very thorough. This counselor is an attorney himself, so there wasn't an I or T missed. Like, it was a very good document. And I thought he was very courageous to put it forward, because the mayor, who would normally support local kinds of initiatives like this and motions like this, I think the mayor had pressure put on him from the upper tier, and the mayor was going to call his motion out of order. Knowing that might happen, we were quick to get to Maggie before the meeting, and Maggie really helped that counselor prepare for if that happened, for that situation. And certainly that's what happened. The mayor called the motion out of order. And then I believe he appealed it right away, Maggie. Is that not what happened? It was appealed? I mean, I was there, but I think I was so overwhelmed to actually hear a counselor say, we're asking how much this is going to cost. And the mayor's point was that the request for costs had to come from the mayor and not from the councillors. So then why didn't the mayor ask on our behalf? We had 3 councillors support the motion out of 4. That was excellent. That was enough to move the motion forward. We had 50 people come out. It was an evening meeting, so that's not always easy to get folks out. And that makes a difference in a really small municipal building when there's 50 people out in an evening. They conducted themselves, we all conducted ourselves really well. We were quiet. We just waited. We waited to see how it would work out. Now, that motion will go forward to the upper tier. I guess our concern now is, do they have to respond? And I have 2 questions. The first one is, there was one counselor that didn't support the motion. My question to her is, why aren't you curious? Like, why aren't you curious about where the money's going? We'll have to have that conversation another time. And then, why would the upper tier not want to share that information with us? That's my second question. So if I missed anything, Maggie, maybe you, because I know you were online with us. That was really great. So what did you think?
It was so exciting. In Oxford County, there is a very strong team there. And Rox, I sent you a private chat. If you want to respond to that, I can spotlight you or leave you behind the scenes, whatever works best for you. Um, just let me know. Uh, you guys have done so much work. You've done house meetings for information sessions. You've done a public information session. You've done a petition with 777 signatures. You've done delegations to the county, brought me in alongside Marie to do a delegation, filled the room with 130 people in the county for that delegation day. Uh, what else? Afterwards, you've gone to the lower tier municipalities. You did not let up. You went from one to another, and did delegations, got people who are from each lower tier to do delegations. Um, and in their local councils and Norwich Council, as we know, all we need is one friendly councillor to move a motion to get this discussion started. And then because what we're presenting is valid and truthful, and we're going by the code of conduct, KICLEI code of conduct, which makes a big difference, as you will speak to in Oxford County. It's making progress. And I would love to share the 30 minutes. If I was going to, there's three videos I really wanted to share tonight. One, it was obviously from British Columbia, one is from Oxford County, and one is from Cambridge from Peter's delegation the same night as Oxford County Norwich delegation. But I would like to play just the beginning and likely the end of Norwich. And then and as people are watching this, know, just like I knew when I was watching, there are 50 people in the room. You cannot see them, but they're there. And listen to how quiet and respectful they are. Because at the end of the day, that is powerful and that is causing a big win. So we'll highlight our code of conduct afterwards, but let's have a listen because this was truly historical, what happened in Norwich. And this is after a lot of pushback from the warden of the county. He did not want this motion to go forward, and it really big. So we'll start with this.
We're going to move on. So the next one is 1024, which is another motion put forward by Councillor Tate.
Did it freeze? Sorry, it's freezing up. Just going to refresh. Sorry.
Do you have this on your YouTube KICLEI page?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get back to it.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Not
Hold on.
anymore.
Sorry.
Not anymore. We can't even see the screen right now. You're not sharing.
Township. Regarding Oxford County.
There you go. Now we hear it, or we see it anyways.
Okay, again, for context, the The council knows that Councillor Tate is about to move this motion that we've been asking for in Oxford County all year long. And the mayor here in Norwich is under pressure to not let this motion go forward. So he has been, how do I say it? Looking for ways to stop this motion going or under pressure to stop it. And he's about to read a statement so that he can stop the motion. And what you're going to see is how the council responded in order to make sure that that motion went through onto the table for debate and eventually to pass. So that is the context behind what we're about to watch.
This resolution regarding Oxford County Resolution number 16, dated November 8th, 2017, requests that Oxford County Council make information available to the general public within 60 days of today's date. The Township of Norwich is a corporation with 5 elected officials, each of which can ask unlimited questions of township staff regarding our corporation. The 4 councillors here tonight can only ask of the township. The mayor, because he is a member of both township and county councils, can ask questions to both. The County of Oxford is a separate corporation with 10 elected officials, each of which can ask unlimited questions of staff regarding their corporation. So each corporation has specific responsibilities assigned by the County of Oxford Act. So a township councillor is not entitled to ask questions of the county by way of a township resolution. A township councillor may apply as a general citizen for a delegation to hear their ask from the county. They do not have to ask to allow for it. So for these reasons, I'm declaring motion 10.2.4 not within the jurisdiction of council as prescribed under procedural bylaw section 10.6. So CEO Smith will outline any appeal mechanisms if there are any. Do you have any questions from council? Councillor Taves.
I'll appeal the ruling, Your Honor.
That's fine.
Okay. Also, I think, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Taves. Section 9.5 of the procedural bylaw very specifically speaks to this. It says appeal of ruling of chair. 9.5.1, with respect to a ruling on procedural matters, as this is, if the member does not appeal the decision of the chair immediately thereafter to council, the decision of the chair shall be final. Councillor Taves has appealed, and so therefore that has been met. 9.5.2 says if the decision is appealed, the chair will give concise reasons for his ruling, which I believe the mayor has done, and will call a vote by council without debate on the following question. Will the ruling be sustained? And the decision of council is final. The chair may vote on this question, and in the event of a tie of votes, the ruling of the chair shall be deemed to be sustained. So Mayor Palmer, you would need to call a vote amongst the members of council. Will your ruling that this is out of order be sustained?
So I'm going to ask members of council, will my order be sustained?
If there could be a recorded vote, please.
That's fine. Councillor Goldberg.
Can you, through you, Mr. Mayor, can you repeat your response there, please?
The entire one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Your reason?
Right from the very start.
Just to read your points of.
So the resolution was regarding the Oxford County Resolution number 16 was
So he's going to repeat it, and maybe we all want to hear that again, but I'm not going to share it. You can go back and watch this. His reasoning was that Norwich is a corporation and Oxford County is a corporation, and Norwich Council, a lower tier municipality within Oxford County, cannot ask the county for information, which is completely not correct. And if any, we are finding that that delegations are again starting to be denied based off of procedural bylaws. If you run into this, please email me at info@kickley.ca with your municipal procedural bylaws and the reason given, and we will come up with an action plan, a strategy to bypass that, because there's always a way with these things to get through. And that's the beauty of municipal council and debate. I think what I'm going to do, I really want to play this whole thing.
Dated November 8, 2017. That's quite a while ago. Request title to ask questions.
Just going to jump through the second reading of that.
So does that help you, Councillor Conberg? So we have a Kim, yeah.
So we will have the recorded vote.
This is to maintain the direction taken by the mayor.
Yes.
Yes.
To say, will the ruling be sustained? Starting with Councillor Chase.
No.
Councillor Callenberg.
No.
That was a
Councillor
no.
Plank. Yes. Councillor Gear.
No.
Councillor Mayor Palmer.
Yes.
Motion is lost.
So where does that leave us?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that means that the appeal of the ruling of the chair has been successful, and therefore the motion that is on the agenda that was brought forward by Councillor Taves should be debated and voted on by council.
Okay.
Sure. So
that
I'll go
was a
ahead
big
and
win.
perhaps introduce my motion. Again, I tried to draft it in a way that it would be self-explanatory. There's no question that Oxford County passed this resolution in 2017. They passed it in open session of council. It's a matter of public government. It's not, respectfully, a private corporate decision. The public has a right to know what actions have been taken since then, what targets have been adopted, what progress reports have been filed, and most importantly, what this has cost. Transparency is the bedrock of accountable government, and it is entirely appropriate that we as a township request that this information be made public. Again, it's a request. It's not a demand. It's not a requirement. That would be out of order. That's not our place. It's a request. I would suggest that lower tier councils like our council request information from the county all the time. We request information about road maintenance, waste management, health services planning. It's normal. It's fully within our jurisdiction. Warden Ryan talks about how the lower tier townships in Oxford County should work as a team. I would suggest that this is a good example of us working as a team. It's part of good communication between tiers of government. Very importantly, since 2022, levies on Norwich residents for Oxford County services have risen by over 36%. Since 2022, more than 36%, amounting to $31 million. That's 31 million reasons why we can be asking for this information. As councillors, we have a fiduciary responsibility to understand what is driving these tax increases. Climate initiatives may be part of the explanation, and our taxpayers deserve clarity. Whether the cost is large or small, it's our duty to track where their dollars are going and ensure that decisions taken at the county level are transparent to the local residents who ultimately pay the bill. And of course, all expenditures of public money have to be transparent. It's not political. It's not about has the money been misspent. It's not about has too much money been spent. It's not about how we may personally feel about spending on climate initiatives. It's about getting a sense of what costs have been incurred. And that's just information that should be available to the public. I would note that when there was a delegation to Oxford County in April of 2025, they presented a petition that had 777 Oxford residents. I will also say for the record that we have a packed house tonight. I'm very confident that many of the people here are very interested in whether or not we as a council will request this information from county council or not. It's just something that's very important to our constituents, and respectfully, in my opinion, we have a duty to follow through. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Taves. Any further questions? Councillor Gear.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, without having any questions, just I will kind of reiterate as well some of the comments that Councillor Taves has commented or brought forward for us. And I mean, transparency and accountability are two key ones when I sit in this seat. We've all had to tighten our belts in all of our households financially. And I believe holding the county accountable for their plans, the money that they accept from the adjoining municipalities, I think it's more than fair to ask for some type of transparency and to be able to have this information made public. So that's my reason for supporting and to continue with this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gear. Councillor DePlank.
Thank you, Mayor Palmer. So I guess I just want to ask Councillor Taves. So the direction here is the concern where the money's been spent for the Partners for Climate Protection Plan. Is that the concern?
We're not there yet. We just want the numbers.
The numbers for their budget?
As articulated in the motion, right? They passed this motion in 2017.
Yeah, for this plan.
Yeah. So
basically that's.
Don't interrupt me.
No.
The motion in 2017 listed a number of commitments.
Mm-hmm.
So my motion tracks those commitments and asks, were they undertaken? Did they happen? And if they did happen, how much did it cost? That's all.
Okay. And I guess I did have a bit of a conversation with James Johnson today too. So just so everyone's clear, we collect roughly 20 million every year.
I'm going to just pause and jump forward. Fascinating discussion. Encourage everyone who's, sticking with us for this 2-hour meeting tonight. Obviously, you're interested, and I know you're going to watch this entire 30-minute discussion. Again, there's 50 people in the room there. Notice how quiet they are. There's no booing. There's no cheering. There's no clapping. And that is a very powerful principle that we want to showcase here tonight, because that is how, as KICLEI representatives, we want to set that example, and Oxford County is doing a great job of that. I'm going to just jump to the end, to the vote.
Councillor Calvert,
Yes.
Mayor Palmer,
No.
Sorry.
Councillor Chase,
Yes.
Councillor Calvert,
Yes.
Councillor DePlank, Councillor Gear.
Yay.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
So that is the first time in Canadian history that a council has passed a motion to find out how much each milestone of this flagship net zero program, the Partners for Climate Protection Program, has cost. We have had it in the past where, tiny township asked how much it cost to do this program. And all they got back was, our FCM membership is $12,000 a year. So they weren't specific enough in their motion to get the answers that we're aiming for. And in this case, they were very specific. Milestone by milestone, went through the joining resolution, everything that they committed to, and said, how much does it cost? So great job, everyone in Oxford County. You did it. Your persistence paid off. With that, I want to say, Jacqueline, you shared with me your experience there, and I just thought it would be really helpful for you to share that with the group tonight. And Jacqueline was the original delegate to Norwich Council this summer.
It was very interesting to hear how it all played out, and the crowd was wonderful. Like you said, 50 people, and they were so quiet. Gentle reminder at the beginning, but they all knew that they were supposed to be quiet. They've been to enough of this. They've seen it before. At the end of the meeting, Mayor Palmer, I did have a short discussion with him, and he made mention about how well behaved everybody was. And I said they followed the KICLEI Code of Conduct. And I did give him a big hug at the end. I've known him for many years, but this was not him. I believe there's somebody who had discussions with him beforehand. So I don't think this was him putting forth that trying to deny the motion to go forward.
Fantastic, and just so grateful for the work in Oxford County. And I love that you open all of your meetings with an acknowledgement of the KICLEI Code of Conduct. So everyone here tonight, I know we got a lot of information on the website. It's hard to know what is one of the most important things to review. And I would say, if you're going to start organizing and doing delegations and communicating with your council, start with the code of conduct and just understand the principles that we're operating under with our strategy, because this is about building bridges between the people and our counselors, and in having the courage to speak up and to draw attention to these issues. And then that inspires the counselors who, in many cases, can say these things in a more articulate way than we can. They just need to have the information, have the concerns brought forward, and have the community behind them when they're going to speak about this. And that makes it a lot easier. So thank you, everyone in Oxford County. And in the agenda tonight, you'll see a toolkit for the cost assessments. And I put together a guidebook for counselors and staff when they're looking to put together a motion to review the cost of these programs, so that they can get more detailed in that. And now we can use the example in Norwich to put before our councils and say, we'd like you to pass a similar motion to find out how much our municipality is spending on this program and related climate programs through the FCM. So thank you so much. We'll do a full case study on Oxford County and Norwich soon, so keep an eye on the newsletter for that.
Maggie, can I ask you a question quickly?
Yes. Well, any questions? Go ahead.
You know the players. You know Marcus Ryan. You delegated in front of our warden. You know our Norwich councils. What do you expect to come out of this? And how should we react if it doesn't go? What should be our next steps if this doesn't go? If the warden refuses to give over any information, what do you see coming for us?
Well, we're all learning as we go. So just like we did in Norwich, we'll have to look at their procedural bylaws to see on what basis they're denying that motion from going forward. I guess we can't know for sure if they have anything up their sleeve that they can use to stop the motion. At least I don't know for sure at this point.
If I could suggest something, Maggie, what I would expect them to do, if anything, is do what they did in Tay Township and just give you a fluff number. Hey, it's only costing us $12,000 a year. And that would be a misdirection or a and that's the thing that because this is coming from county, right? The request is coming from the county.
It's coming from the township to the county, and they can't do that with this motion because of
he was pretty detailed in how he asked the information. So
Yes, and I didn't show that specifically. I didn't have it ready to
No, I'm
pull
going to
up.
watch it. It sounds great. I'm just thinking that they might dismiss or minimize or play with how that's presented, and I think it involves just simply being persistent, going at it again, respectfully, and how they do it in Parliament. You see it all the time. They'll ask the Prime Minister the same question 15 different ways. He never gives an answer. But, hopefully at the municipal level, the people will start recognizing this, and you recognize that you only need about 3,000 to 5,000 people to change your next council or representatives and mayors. So that's the conversation to have in these next 12 months, because in Ontario, we're having municipal elections in October of 2026. And January 1st is when the candidates can apply for there. So in your groups, have someone be willing to put their name forward and represent you. And it doesn't matter whether it's a corporation or a municipality or whatever, we need good people to do the right thing when called upon. And hopefully you have a mayor and a deputy mayor that will sit on that council, that county, and that's where you may have that influence and partner with their other municipalities within the other 8 municipalities in your county. We need to be involved in what's going on. And thank you. 72 people across Canada here are engaged in this one little topic.
Great.
It's phenomenal.
Great.
It's very powerful. And Maggie Braun is our heroine, and she's leading the torch and teaching us how to present these things and not give up on the process. Because if we stop talking, what starts happening? Ugly stuff starts happening. So we need to continuously, if they don't give us what we ask for it again. We do it in kindness, we do it in graciousness, with respect, with love, because that's who we are, and we won't stop doing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. I will say I can almost guarantee what will come out of this effort in Oxford going into budget season is less money being spent on climate action plan initiatives. They will be very careful at how much money they are going to spend on that. And that's going to take us to Cambridge, which is in the Waterloo region. Sharon and Peter McFadden have been doing some great organizing down there for various groups, and have really put a focus in on KICLEI and communicating with councils. And uh, and Peter Hyman is here tonight, and he is a man who has taken such great initiative. He's studied the KICLEI material, he studied his local agenda, he put together his delegation, he knew his material, he reached out, got some feedback, and he went for it, and did a great job. And I'll just hand it over to Peter Hyman from Cambridge tonight. And I wanted to share your entire video tonight too. It's not too long, so we can definitely go through it and share your presentation and the counselor's response and what we can learn from the report that came in front of Cambridge Council, and how the consultant is conflating provincial mandates with the PCP program and introducing the idea of purchasing carbon credits to close the gap between the practical initiatives that they can do to increase efficiency and their 40% reduction target. So that is something we have to stop in this country. We cannot allow any municipality in our country to spend any money on carbon credits to reach these targets. That is our marching orders. We have to keep an eye on that. So, Peter, that's just my introductory spiel, but I know the Cambridge delegation went into a lot more. So I'm going to let you provide your feedback on that, and we can watch the video.
Thank you, Maggie. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Okay. So Cambridge is quite different because they've been in this thing a long time. They've already gone through the first plan, 5 milestones. They got recognized for that. They're under the second plan. So I got connected with Peter McFadden and the Waterloo Region KICLEI group. And okay, what can we do? Now there, I thought, and I was encouraged by Maggie, well, just go for it. This wasn't exactly a PCP presentation because they've been at that so long. They don't even have to present that to council. They rubber stamp it. But there's something called Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan, ECDM, which Ontario government requires that every municipality, which is basically only a requirement to put a plan together. There's no penalty if you don't meet the plan. There's no guidance as to what the plan is for GHG reduction. So I took my opportunity to delegate because ECDM is closely connected with PCP. Now, I put something together. It was supposed to go in April to council, and that got changed to May, June, July, and finally September 23rd. Maggie helped a lot with this presentation. So it's a combined presentation. And I didn't expect much. And also, we had Peter McFadden had people ready to go live the last day. The day before, there was some incident at City Hall. So they put it all online, virtual. So I'm scrambling with the person who's doing the slides to get it coordinated because my slide presentation, they were sliding in individually. So it was a little tricky, but it worked out quite well. So I had to do it virtually. And to my surprise, that we had 3 councillors really on board with us, voted against even receiving the report. They were just presenting this energy conservation demand management plan to receive. And I don't know if Maggie's going to show it, but she'll maybe document the clip where 3 councillors say, wait a minute, this is costing a lot of money, and not because of my presentation, but they were already thinking of this. So that's the background to this delegation.
You did such a fantastic job, Peter. And not only that, but you reached out to a friend who knew how to clip videos, and you had the video clip with yourself doing the delegation and the counselors' responses and so on, and the vote in my inbox almost the next day, which allowed me to do the write-up almost instantly and get this out there for everyone. So thank you for setting an example of that initiative too, and how people who take the initiative are a big part of what we want to inspire people in KICLEI to do. So yes, let's watch the delegation to Cambridge and the counselors' responses. And we are going to go until 9 o'clock. And everyone who's putting questions in the chat, I will get back to you through email. I have all of your emails, and me and the assistant will sit down tomorrow first thing, and we will make sure we answer all questions if we don't get to it tonight. We're packing a lot into this 2-hour meeting, so. Exit that. I have such a hard time once I get into there. Okay.
That's it.
Can everyone see? Okay, perfect. And I did see a question in the chat. This is our code of conduct. It is linked in the agenda above. First chat blocks in our chat. And this is a municipal toolkit, and you can download this guide for your staff and councils so that they can assess the cost of the PCP program, the FCM's flagship net zero program. I did see a question about, this is all about PCP. How is that related to the FCM? And we'll definitely cover more on the FCM after. And I would look at the open letter to the FCM that we presented at the beginning of the meeting if you're in a municipality that's strictly FCM. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Peter Hyman. I'm a Cambridge resident and taxpayer, and I wish to thank you for the opportunity to speak about the 2025 to 2029 Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan, or ECDM, and our continued involvement in Partners for Climate Protection Program, known as PCP. This ECDM plan states required under Ontario Regulation 25/23 tracks energy use in city facilities, buildings, fleet vehicles, street lights. But it's important to be aware of what the province actually requires. Municipalities must publish the plan, yes, but the regulation does not mandate GHG targets, and it imposes no penalties for non-compliance. Municipalities retain full discretion to shape their plans according to local needs. This brings me to the PCP program. While it's often presented as a helpful framework, PCP is a voluntary, non-binding initiative managed by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and KICLEI Canada. There is no requirement to participate in PCP to meet Ontario's energy reporting needs. In fact, PCP has its own reporting obligations, entirely separate from the ECDM, and adds extra staff workload and costs without helping us meet provincial reporting requirements. That's just not my interpretation. Last year, the city of Thorold reviewed the same concern and voted 7-1 to withdraw from PCP, citing unclear costs, intangible benefits, and a growing sense that local priorities were being sidelined by global policy agendas. Thorold's decision reflects a fair question. Are we allocating limited local resources to serve our residents, or to fulfill global benchmarks that were never debated or consented to by the people of Cambridge? And very recent peer-reviewed studies provide helpful context. On March 21st, 2025, study appeared in the Science and Climate Change Journal. It reviewed decades of data and found no clear evidence that current climate change trends are an emergency. Another study from September 20th, 2024, in the journal Science, looked at 485 million years climate history. Found that we are actually at a temperature low compared to much of that period. Now let's talk about impact. As you can see from the graph, Canada contributes only about 1.5% of global GHG output, and Cambridge's share is a tiny fraction of that. So Cambridge represents only about 0.005% of the global total. Meanwhile, countries like China produce 26% of global emissions and continue expanding coal power. Given that scale, I think it's fair to ask, will our local sacrifices, tens of millions in projected costs, make any meaningful difference globally? Now let's look at the cost. 2025-2029 ECDM plan is estimated to cost $10 to $15 million. And the projected cost for 2050 may reach $40 to $60 million. That's a major investment. And yes, when I filed a Freedom of Information request to access PCP-related expenditures, I was told it would take significant staff time and come with high search and prep fees, raising serious transparency concerns. At the same time, Cambridge is facing real, visible, and urgent challenges. Road maintenance and traffic, flooding along the Grand River, housing affordability, economic development and downtown revitalization. These are the areas where our funding, staff time, and policy focus
should be going, not towards satisfying external benchmarks that come with unclear costs and questionable benefits. In conclusion, this is not a call to ignore environmental responsibility, but it is a call for measured, transparent, and locally accountable policymaking. I respectfully ask the Council, 1, reconsider Cambridge's continued involvement in the PCP program. 2, align the ECDM plan with provincial minimum requirements. 3, request a full cost accounting of all PCP and ECDM-related spending. And 4, consider following Thorold's example, taking a principled stand for local control, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Thank you for your time and service to our city.
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Schwery.
Thank you, Mayor Leggett. So my comment is, I feel that we have to really be honest what the cost of these plans are to taxpayers. And also there's a correction on the report where it's on page 535 where it says current financial regulations will eliminate the sale of vehicles powered solely by gasoline or diesel in 2025. I believe that's not accurate. September 13, 2025, CBC had an article saying the federal regulation is under review. So it could be changed, strengthened, or eliminated. I just wanted to make that clear. So my comment is electric vehicles are not zero emissions. They use rare earth and minerals and it will be increasing mining. Also, there's child labor used in cobalt mining in the Congo and slave labor in China for solar panel battery mineral productions. Our vast forests and Great Plains have used much of our globally insignificant CO2 emissions, but we continue to burden our taxpayers in the thousands each year because of these plants. In regards to financial impact, how will spending tens of millions of dollars do anything in terms of emission reduction other than make it more expensive for the general public? Will it do anything to change the air we breathe in Cambridge? No. Air moves around all over the world. Taxing Cambridge residents while the culprits are China, India, the US, Africa, etc., does nothing. Also, electricity is expensive. Remember the fad that tricked homeowners way back into buying homes with electric baseboard heaters, saying it will save on electricity because you only heat the room you are in? Well, that was false. In the executive summary, it is stated on page 453, if the global trajectory continues, scientists estimate that the global temperatures could rise by 4 to 6 degrees Celsius in this century. But you will find other scientists that will say different. And since the beginning of time, the temperatures rose and then fell. So who is right? On page 454, it stated that the reduction from anticipated changes to the electricity grid will not even achieve the city's reduction target. And the city will need to implement additional measures. And then the next paragraph, you talk about the procurement of carbon offsets, such as solar farms. I think we should let the taxpayers know that these farms are very expensive. And they also disrupt wildlife. And then to minimize the necessity to purchase offsets, the city will need to be have further ambitious actions to reduce energy use within city facilities, services, equipment, and vehicles. Then my question would be, if that doesn't work to the satisfaction, what is next? Additional taxes on people and restrictions? To me, this is kind of sounding scary. So in Canada alone, net zero is estimated to cost us from 3 to 4 to 5.2 trillion dollars, or $325,000 per household for a perceived benefit. Carbon dioxide levels are unmeasurable because we can never be able to distinguish between extreme weather or sea level rise from natural variation. I think we have to really think carefully. So please do We are spending a lot of money for an insignificant change. Thank you.
We're not satisfied.
Stop sharing for a moment. I don't want us to go too far over tonight, but wasn't Helen great? And there are two other counselors that spoke up as well. And I trust over the next couple weeks or days, everyone's going to be going through the links that are posted in our agenda today and watch everything. But I would like us to jump to the end of that and watch the vote because, again, there were two other counselors that spoke to that. Peter, is that okay if we jump forward?
Yeah, of course, and I understand the mayor made it clear. ECDM was just presenting a report to be received, and this is what the vote, even to receive this report.
Yeah, the three counselors wouldn't even receive it, and encouraging people to look at the article we put out because you put a lot of work into that, and we sent information to their council beforehand, kind of doing what the staff in Lethbridge did before looking at these long-term targets and breaking down the cost and saying, okay, you could do business as usual, that this is how you do it. You could reduce your targets and save money and be more fiscally responsible, or you could do, the 40-50% reduction and the 80% reduction, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And we gave them kind of some visuals of these options beforehand. And if you look at that 130-page report done by that consultant, you will see that they have conflated the provincial requirements with the Partners for Climate Protection program and acted as if they're one and the same, and introduced the idea of buying carbon credits, which is appalling to send our money to foreign utility companies and carbon brokers and the Green Slush Fund. So let's jump to the end and let's watch the vote.
Motion is just to receive the report and that to consider the resources required for specific initiatives through future budget cycles. So we're not deciding today to spend money on anything in particular here. Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. And for you. I appreciated the report. I won't get into any debates on the science of climate change. I think the evidence is quite unequivocal. I think we can all agree that an investment in cleaning the air of our city, cleaning the water is usually worth it for present and future generations. And as I think staff in the report indicate, the majority of those investments will actually yield greater savings to our community. Thing to fight in the sea. I think they are important.
Any other comments? I see none. So that motion is on the floor and we will call for that vote.
Councillor Schwery?
I'm not in favor.
Okay. Councillor Devine? Thumbs up. Councillor Kimpson?
In favor.
Councillor Earnshaw?
In favor.
Councillor Roberts?
In favor.
Councillor Cooper?
Opposed.
Councillor Hamilton?
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta?
Opposed.
Mayor Liggett?
In favor.
And that carries.
So you can see, oh, how do I get out of this now? Shoot. Stop sharing. You can see how this information is starting to create a slow and steady rebellion against net zero and climate action plans, and councillors are speaking with basic facts and common sense. And again, Peter, your delegation, when you talked about climate science, you stuck to very basic facts, didn't you? And you showed the visuals, and the councillors repeated those facts. So we need to speak in a way that can be repeated. And Peter, anything else to say? And Peter and Sharon McFadden, you're welcome to chime in here as well.
I would just mention that there's 9 council members. So we got 3 on board. You need 2 more to block any of this stuff. So it's a start.
Yes.
It's a start.
It's a start. And again, this is going to help them because the whole point is for them to keep this in mind as they go into budget season. And we want them to remember that this isn't provincially mandated and that they don't need to spend money on it. And they should not consider putting any municipal funds towards carbon credits. So
And not
we
be
are
not be afraid to
Go ahead.
remind them that this is an election year too. So
Maggie, I just wanted to mention that it was in the Cambridge Times. The headline is "Will it change the air we breathe? Cambridge debates 11.7 million climate plan." So it was in the newspaper in Cambridge. So that I thought that was important. We thought Peter did a great job. Helen is a great asset to us, and with our group, I had ordered a bunch of these books from Energy at a Glance from Calgary, and Peter shared one of those with Helen. So he gave her one of those, so that was great. We have been sending letters to council. I've got regional council. We do the regional council for I've got about 18 folders to send to them, and the last 2 that I sent one was a summary of this book for climate change, and one was things to do during budget time. Whether we run them off, we take them right to the regional office, and whether hard copies, whether they read them or not, we don't know. But they also have come out in the region of Waterloo, sets its path to net zero emissions by the 2050 by the new corporate action plan. So we're analyzing that to see how we can how we can address it. They want to establish the net zero standards for new buildings and retrofits, and launching a green fleet policy. So we want to go through it. And all of the resources you gave us tonight are going to actually help us so much with coming up with more information. And I'm talking fast because I'm running out of time. But this was from
That's okay.
Something you sent. It was from the article, Enough, Who's Really Flooding the Councils. I really like the part. It says to councillors across Canada, you are not alone. And I thought that was really important. You are being targeted. You are elected to ask questions. You are not obligated to accept every international program. You're not spreading misinformation. So I thought that was really something that we could use and send to our counselors as well. So by giving these letters to the regional counselors, it gets to the mayors like Leggett and the one from Waterloo and Kitchener too, because we have some people who are looking for opportunities to delegate to Kitchener as well as Cambridge. We don't have anyone from Waterloo yet, but we're working on it. And we really want to at some time connect with the Marie Russell and the Oxford group to pick their brains, because they have done a fantastic job. And it's just a matter of, they're just right next to us. So
you guys are such great organizers down in that area. And with all the kind of background information work that I'm doing, you guys just set a date and I'll advertise it. We can all come together somewhere. So I'm going to put that out there. If anyone wants to host an Ontario KICLEI convention or event, let's put that together. I think it'd be great to get us all together in person. And I understand talking fast. I have to talk fast a lot. And I will put this recording out there for everyone so that we can go through it. There was a lot of information we covered tonight. And thank you for bringing up. Yep.
Just reinforce that Peter did an excellent job. He was put off so many times, but he wasn't discouraged. He just kept plugging away. And then when they even put him on, there was an incident where a security thing happened the day before, so he had to go online. That didn't discourage him. He just kept going. We had some people we thought we could line up and try and have in the gallery, but we sent it out to them, and hopefully more people watched it. So Peter did an excellent job.
Yes, and we'll send it out even further. We'll share this out. Thank you for bringing up the KICLEI's response to the National Observer, the who's really flooding municipal councils. That was kind of the last thing I wanted to share tonight. I was going to talk about a couple other municipalities in Ontario, but I'm going to leave that for our next meeting because for the exact reason that we don't want those councils to be targeted before we make our next move. So there's a bunch of people here tonight from other municipalities across Canada who are about to make a move. I would love to share that with all of you. You know who you are and you know where you're working, but we will leave that for next time. And specifically because the National Observer and the ICLEI network is pushing back using their media contacts. So I'm just going to share lastly the article that Sharon just referred to. If I can. Somehow get I have a real hard time once I'm in YouTube. Okay, so enough. Who's really flooding Canadian councils with misinformation? So this brings us to some of the people in the house tonight from Thorold, the original big win in Canada. This Roy White from the National Observer is trying to discredit the council in Thorold and try and suggest that KICLEI is an AI chatbot. And we pushed back on that narrative to set the record straight. We showcased that, this came from delegations in person by residents, that local residents pushed this forward. It was local councillors who made these motions, that the FCM sent representatives to present this program, and they didn't do an impressive enough job, that in the end, we did a whole bunch of delegations. We put forward our petition. 50 residents attended in person. The staff formally recommended that they withdraw from the program, and the council voted on it. So we laid out all the facts there. And this is something that we're going to be coming up against, these various accusations that we're spreading misinformation and so on. And we have to ask the question, who's really running a multi-million-dollar influence campaign on our town halls? So we know who it is: ICLEI, the United Nations, and now the National Observer. So thank you for sharing this, conclusion to councillors across Canada. You are not alone. You are being targeted, not for doing something wrong, but for doing your job. You were elected to ask questions, weigh costs, and represent your constituents. You are not obligated to accept every international program that shows up with a grant and a timeline. You are not spreading misinformation for asking, what will it cost us? And you are not alone. We are hundreds of Canadians, councillors, farmers, planners, small business owners, standing together to demand local accountability in a world of top-down policy. So with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking part in tonight's meeting.
Great content, Maggie. Thank you so much for your leadership again. And I want to underline and encourage everyone. Thank you all for taking your democracy in hand in your local municipality and getting your voices in there. Maggie, these are your people. You've created this, and we thank you so much for being the voice of reason in the environmental movement for all of Canada. And you are a true environmentalist that the people can stand behind and stand with. And congratulations, my dear. And let's not stop now. Got to keep going forward, folks, and have all the municipalities in your respective counties have this message brought to them. Make your groups bigger. And I want to underline, as a chapter president for the Ontario Landowners Association, let's have a conversation with Jeff, the president, and the executive committee of the OLA, and let's make it a joint OLA KICLEI conference. They want to do an annual meeting anyways. It's just a matter of timing. Maybe your group can be a factor in getting them to make it happen, and we can share the costs, figure it out.
Yeah, it definitely helps to join up with local associations in our provinces, and in Ontario, the Ontario Landowners
We're all fleet
Association.
ships in the night, aren't we? Right? We want to be able to
Mhm.
create maybe a fleet or a formation,
Yes.
if we could.
I wanted to say just we want to keep this momentum going. We're doing pretty good as far as Substack subscriptions and donations coming in to keep the work going, to keep me kind of able to sit here on a full-time basis and pump out and respond to as many of you as possible. And just would really appreciate everyone who has contributed. I see the donations coming in, and it means so much to see that coming. And for anyone who would like to support, there's lots of different ways on the website. Just go to the KICLEI's donate page, and there's lots of different ways you can support monthly or other ways like subscribing to our Substack or sponsoring and so on. And I trust that by the end of the year, I'm going to reach that basic goal of self-sufficiency while doing this at the same time. And that's my goal, because I love this work and I can't stop doing it. I just need to keep going, and you guys are a big part of that. So next year, hopefully we'll professionalize and form into some sort of legal structure. Right now, it's a lot easier to keep this as a Substack and, a group of a network working together to get this job done. So, yeah, appreciate your trust and your time tonight. And I do see a lot of people here that I would love to shine a spotlight on. Reach out to me, use that contact form, the support request form, and I'm pretty up on all of my emails. So just keep the requests coming, and I'm here to help and to connect you as well. Jacqueline and Lynn, if this is something that should go to the whole group, go for it. If not, let's hit pause and I can answer your question after. So
one of the questions I had was regarding the Thorold group. Did anybody hear anything from the councillors or mayor after they withdrew from the PCP? Whether or not they're glad they did, like some of that information might be very helpful.
Yeah, well, certainly the Councillor Handley and DeRose, who moved and seconded the motion, are quite happy they left. And that reminds me, there is a growing group of councillors all across the country that I'm now putting together. So that's going to be kind of, we're the grassroots team. They're the team that's on the ground playing, and we're supporting them. So we're going to start putting our counselors from across the country together and connecting them so that they can support each other moving these motions. And yeah, there was Mina did delegations. She just left a comment there. She did delegations with us in Thorold, and she said no more. There's been no discussion since in Thorold, and yeah, they just have to move on, right? The council made a decision, and they moved on. They were not happy with the National Observer targeting their council a year after and suggesting that they were influenced by AI, when the entire council and the community knows that that was a grassroots initiative. So, so yeah. I think that they might be bringing that up at their next meeting and talking about how it was very inappropriate of their local paper to publish that article. Lynn? Lynn from Lethbridge.
Hi, Maggie. What an amazing Zoom and what amazing things presented tonight. Oh my goodness. I did want to talk to you about something. If you wanted to end the Zoom recording for the moment,
I
that
wrote
would be
your
great.
I saw your chat and I wrote down your number to give you a call. So I can call you
Oh,
right after.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
Okay.
That would be wonderful. I look forward to talking with you. And yeah, we're having elections here in Alberta, and it's definitely in regards to that as well, our municipal elections. And yeah, I would love to, and lots more. So thank you.
Okay. Great job, everyone, tonight. Thank you all for participating, and let's keep it going behind the scenes. Feel free to use the KICLEI Facebook page. If you have something to share, share it there, and I'll put it on. I do get a lot of people trying to share posts that aren't related to KICLEI, so it's kind of frustrating, but would love to see your delegations and events posted on the Facebook page for people to see as well. So feel
Thank you,
free to use
Maggie.
that
Have a
resource.
great night, all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone. You're
Maggie.
all
Thank you,
amazing.
everyone.
Got a great group here. Thank you all for coming. What a great turnout tonight.
Yes, it was. Thank you, everyone. Keep it moving.
Maggie. Thank you, Maggie, for everything you do and everyone else.
Thank you.
Good night, Maggie. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night, Dale.
Take care. Hope we can see you in Port Hope sometime.
Yes. Invite me down. You guys have done a great job over in Port Hope.